Hey guys, it's Megan Aller, account executive with First American Title here in Denver, Colorado, to give you your March 2019 detached single family market update. The highlight for this month, the term that we're going to call this, is where are all of the listings? And so as you know, since October, we've all been socked in with snow and it's been really super duper cold. And so what happens when it's really cold and we have this snow that keeps coming around is that oftentimes sellers want to choose to wait until they're able to get their photos taken with their homes until all of that snow is gone. Typically in Colorado, our snow melts very quickly, but our snow patterns keep coming through and we've had really strong snowstorms this year, which has delayed our listings coming to market. Typically going from February to March, we end up seeing a nice little uptick in listings, but this year we're actually down in terms of active count by about 0.5%, and we only had about 3,587 active units that were available for sale. However, our buying pool, understanding that it's still an extreme seller's market, that means that they got to market early starting in February and March, and so our under contract count is up over where we were 1 year ago by 2.2%. Now, what happens when supply drops and demand goes up? Well, prices continue to rise. As we looked at that transition going from February into March, typically at this time of year we would end up seeing a larger jump in our average sales price, but prices still went up by 2.2%. This continues to lay out the prophecy that it's a slightly less good seller's market here in Metro Denver, where prices aren't going up quite as high as fast as what we had seen in the past couple of years. Average sales price came in at $517,500. We expected that to be closer to $520,000, with a median sales price going up by a big gain. It was up by 4.2% from February to March, up to $445,000. We're well on our way to our anticipated average sales price that will be topping out between May, June, and July, somewhere between $545,000 to $555,000. So everything's coming in as expected when we look at those average prices. Same thing with average days on market. Those start their steep ascent into the lowest days on market portion of our year. Typically in that March, April, May, June time frame, we end up seeing those average days on market drop from about 40 down to somewhere between 20 to 25. Median days to contract, as we were looking at March, it ended up coming in at about 10 median days to contract, which is a little bit higher than we were 1 year ago, but it's still just slightly over a week that over half of our listings are under contract here in Metro Denver. Flash sales began to tick upwards. They went from about 30 last month up to 45% this month. That's well on its way to where we should be. We would expect to see somewhere around May 55 to 60% of all of our units under contract in that first 7-day period. We're really in the grind of our year right now. We're 6 months into our compression cycle, 6 weeks into our compression cycle, with about another 6 weeks to go. Our market really starts to trickle off as we get into that June time frame, and so this is really the grinding part of our season. 54.1% of the homes that closed in March sold for at or over their asking price. So I'd hardly call this a market that's shifting or slowing down. Again, it's not quite going as fast as what we've seen for the past couple of years, but it's still an incredibly strong seller's market. When we look at our projections for this cycle, our under contract unit count is right on pace with where we anticipated it to be, as is our sold count, but the difference is that our active unit count has been slow to come to market this year. Now, what could happen is once we finally get some nice warm weather here in Denver and all the snow melts off, we could see a nice pop of active unit counts coming to market. And so if you're a seller and you really want to take advantage of the compression cycle where inventory is down but demand is up, I would encourage you to try to get to market sooner rather than later. As we're looking at those flash sales, again, this is the point of the market where it really ticks up and it starts going fast, with over half of our homes under contract in 7 days or less. And with that said, if you're going to present your listing to market, it's incredibly important that you select the correct week to go to market with your new listings. And so if we're going under contract in 7 days or less, I would encourage you to consider staying away from those 3-day weekends. Coming up this week, we have Easter. And so when we look at those Easter weekends, 3-day weekends or religious holidays, they take a big chunk out of the market in terms of contracts that are accepted and showings that are set during that time. If we look at Easter weekend for last year in April, we ended up having 54% fewer contracts that were written in that weekend alone. And so if you can get to market before one of those 3-day or religious holiday weekends, otherwise I would say if you you need to wait until the weekend after. I would hate for you to consider reducing your price prematurely because you didn't get enough showings the weekends before. Now, conversely, if you're a buyer, great weekend to go out and look, especially if you're contingent on a sale or if you have less competitive terms that you're writing your offers in. So I would encourage you to take a look at those holiday weekends as those are coming up. I hope that this information has been helpful to you. I hope that you'll stick around next week as we come back with our attached Metro Denver market review. As always, we put this information together for you in hopes that we'll help you better advise your buyers and sellers. And I hope that if we're able to help them get under contract, that we'll get to have that closing here at First American Title. Thanks so much.